Neoplatonism is a philosophical and spiritual movement that emerged in the 3rd century CE as a reinterpretation and development of Plato's ideas. It flourished in the late ancient world and significantly influenced Christian, Islamic, and Jewish thought. While rooted in Platonic philosophy, Neoplatonism also incorporated elements from Aristotelianism, Stoicism, Pythagoreanism, and various religious traditions. At its core, Neoplatonism is a metaphysical system that emphasizes the hierarchical structure of reality, the emanation of all things from a single ineffable source, the One, and the soul's journey back to its divine origin through contemplation and purification. Historical background. Neoplatonism arose in a period marked by political instability, religious syncretism, and philosophical consolidation. The Roman Empire in the 3rd century was undergoing significant transformation, with increased interest in Eastern religions and mystical practices. Philosophy during this time was no longer solely a rational enterprise, but often had a spiritual or salvific dimension. Plotinus, ca. 245 to 270 CE, the founding figure of Neoplatonism, studied in Alexandria under the philosopher Ammonius Saccas before establishing a school in Rome. His teachings were recorded and systematized by his student Porphyry, who edited Plotinus's lectures into 6 groups of 9 treatises, collectively titled the Enneads. After Plotinus, Neoplatonism evolved further through the works of philosophers such as Iamblichus, Proclus, Damascius, and Christian thinkers like Augustine, Dionysius the Areopagite, and Boethius. Core concepts: 1, the One, or the Good. At the top of the Neoplatonic hierarchy stands the One, also called the Good. It is utterly simple, beyond being, beyond thought and language, and cannot be comprehended or described in positive terms. Plotinus insists that the One is the absolute source of all reality, transcending all distinctions, even the distinction between subject and object. This conception closely echoes Plato's notion of the good in the Republic and the form of the beautiful in the Symposium. 2. Emanation. Neoplatonism describes creation not as a deliberate act, but as an emanation. All of reality flows out of the One in a necessary and hierarchical process. From the One emanates nous, intellect, which contains the totality of forms or ideas. From nous emanates the world soul, which links the intelligible realm to the material world and animates it. From the world soul emanates individual souls, including human souls, which are divine in origin, but incarnated in the material world. This triadic structure, One, intellect, soul, mirrors Plato's metaphysical distinctions, but adds a dynamic process to their relationships. Importantly, unlike in some dualistic systems, matter is not evil in itself. It is a lower, more distant reflection of the divine. 3. Return to the One. The human soul, according to Plotinus, is divine and belongs to the higher realm. However, in its descent into the material world, it becomes entangled in bodily desires and forgets its origin. The goal of human life is the return, epistrophe, a spiritual ascent back to the One. This return is achieved through purification, contemplation, philosophy, and mystical union. By turning inward and transcending the senses and intellect, the soul can rise through levels of reality to eventually experience henosis, or union with the divine. This moment is ineffable, ecstatic, and beyond rational understanding. The role of beauty. Beauty plays a central role in Neoplatonism as a pointer toward the divine. For Plotinus, physical beauty is a reflection of higher intellectual beauty. Contemplating beauty in nature or art can elevate the soul toward the intelligible and eventually to the One. This idea profoundly influenced later aesthetics in both religious and secular contexts. Later Neoplatonists. After Plotinus, Neoplatonism became more systematized and increasingly infused with theurgy and ritual practices. Porphyry emphasized ethics and the purification of the soul. He also worked to defend pagan philosophy against rising Christian critiques. Iamblichus, ca. 245-25 CE, introduced a more religious and theurgical element, arguing that divine union requires not only contemplation but also rituals and invocations. He believed that the gods could be approached through divine intermediaries and that the soul needed divine aid for its ascent. For Iamblichus, theurgy, sacred action, was a way to align the soul with the divine order. Proclus, 412-485 CE, head of the academy in Athens, produced a highly elaborate and hierarchical metaphysical system. He wrote extensive commentaries on Plato and integrated Neoplatonism with Chaldean oracles and Pythagorean mysticism. His influence stretched into the Christian Middle Ages, especially through the Latin West. Neoplatonism and Christianity. Neoplatonism had a major impact on Christian theology, particularly through figures such as Augustine of Hippo and Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite. Augustine, before converting to Christianity, studied Plotinus and was deeply influenced by the idea of the immaterial soul, the nature of evil as privation of good, and the inward path to God. He adapted these ideas into a Christian framework, seeing God as the ultimate source and end of the soul's journey. Pseudo-Dionysius, writing in the late 5th or early 6th century under a pseudonym, synthesized Christian doctrine with Neoplatonic metaphysics. His works on the celestial hierarchy, negative theology via negativa, and mystical ascent became central to medieval mysticism, especially in Eastern Orthodoxy and among Western scholastics like Thomas Aquinas. Influence on Islam and Judaism. Neoplatonism also entered Islamic philosophy through translations of Plotinus and Proclus into Arabic, often mediated through the works of Al-Farabi, Avicenna, and Suhrawardi. Although Plotinus's works were mistakenly attributed to Aristotle in the Arabic tradition, his metaphysical framework helped shape Islamic metaphysics, particularly the distinction between the necessary being and emanated existence. In Jewish philosophy, thinkers like Philo of Alexandria, who preceded Plotinus but shared many ideas, and later Solomon ibn Gabirol and Moses Maimonides, incorporated Neoplatonic structures into their conceptions of God, creation, and the human soul. The Kabbalistic tradition, especially the Sephirotic tree, reflects Neoplatonic themes of emanation and return. Legacy and Renaissance revival. Neoplatonism saw a revival in the Italian Renaissance, especially in the Florentine Academy founded by Marsilio Ficino, who translated Plotinus and other Neoplatonists into Latin. Renaissance artists and thinkers such as Botticelli, Michelangelo, and Pico della Mirandola were inspired by Neoplatonic ideals of beauty, harmony, and the divine spark in the human soul. This revival fueled a renewed interest in the spiritual and symbolic dimensions of art, as well as in the human capacity for transcendence and inner illumination. Neoplatonic ideas also influenced Romanticism, Transcendentalism, and modern depth psychology, e.g., Carl Jung's concept of the archetypes and the collective unconscious. Conclusion. Neoplatonism stands as a monumental synthesis of Greek philosophical traditions with mystical and religious elements. It provided a metaphysical map of reality that shaped not only late antiquity but also medieval and early modern thought. Its emphasis on the soul's ascent, the role of beauty, and the ineffable nature of the divine continues to resonate across philosophical, theological, and artistic domains. In linking the visible and the invisible, reason and mysticism, Neoplatonism formed a bridge between the world of Plato and the spiritual aspirations of the medieval and Renaissance worlds, a legacy still felt today.